Okay, number one, guys, we got Project Pigeon. The man behind Project Pigeon was famed American behavioralist and Harvard professor B.F. Skinner, who teamed with the US Army to develop such a system. Pigeons were trained using operant conditioning, a type of learning pioneered by Skinner in 1937 where behavior is modified by its consequences. In operant conditioning, the initial behavior is spontaneous, but when it's either rewarded or punished, that behavior is either reinforced or inhibited. In this case, Skinner rewarded pigeons for pecking an image on a screen to get them conditioned to do it. Skinner then designed a nose cone for missiles that had 3 windows for the pigeon to look through. Via the flight control system and a metal piece on the nose of the pigeon to detect a peck, the pecking of the windows would result in the missile changing course. Depending on which window was pecked and where on the window the pecking happened, the pigeons were then trained to peck such that the target, whatever the object the pigeon was conditioned to go for, stayed centered in front of the missile. That's insane. That is crazy. I imagine that this didn't work out the best because, well, who knows? Maybe it's going on now. We just don't know about it. I'm not sure. But I imagine it probably didn't work out. But that's insane what animals can do. I learned the other day that the Russians, the Soviets, they actually weaponized dolphins. They trained them to basically be like the sea and strap on missiles to them and stuff and attack submarines. It's crazy. It's crazy what we're doing, and like pigeons now. Wow. Number 2, Operation Northwoods. Operation Northwoods was a proposed false flag operation against American citizens that originated within the US Department of Defense of the United States government in 1962. The proposals called for the CIA operatives to both stage and actually commit acts of against American military and civilian targets, blaming them on the Cuban government and using it to justify a war against Cuba. The possibilities detailed in the document included the possible assassination of Cuban immigrants, sinking boats of Cuban refugees on the high seas, hijacking planes to be shot down or given the appearance of being shot down, blowing up a US ship, and orchestrating violent US cities. The proposals were rejected by President John F. Kennedy. Well, thank goodness, man. Thank you, John F. Kennedy, for not going with that, because that's horrible. That's horrible. And the fact that people, like high-ranking people in like the CIA, are even proposing stuff like this, like, if that's real, that's not cool, dude. Like, we cannot be doing that. That's not forward-thinking stuff, guys. Like, don't like that one bit. Number 3, Operation Mockingbird. Operation Mockingbird is an alleged large-scale program for the United States Central Intelligence Agency that began in the early years of the Cold War and attempted to manipulate news media for propaganda purposes. According to author Deborah Davis, Operation Mockingbird recruited leading American journalists into a propaganda network and influenced the operations of front groups. The CIA support of front groups was exposed when a 1967 Ramparts magazine article reported that the National Student Association received funding from the CIA. In 1975, Church Committee congressional investigators revealed agency connections with journalists and civic groups. The CIA conducted mass manipulation of some of the largest press agencies. Everything from the New York Times to Newsweek and even Time magazine were a part of this. Literally every story or headline they ran was controlled by the CIA. This was, as a result, a heavy influence to the public opinion. However, this operation came to light in the 1960s and the public realized that they had been duped. Good for us. I'm happy that we figured that one out, guys. Yeah, I do not like the idea of, government-run agencies controlling our media. I know that it does happen. Like, it definitely still happens to this day. Hopefully not to that extent, but glad that we figured that one out. Number 4, Operation Midnight Climax. Operation Midnight Climax was an operation carried out by the CIA as a sub-project of Project MKUltra, the mind control research program that began in the 1950s. It was initially established in 1954 by Sidney Gottlieb and placed under the direction of the Federal Narcotics Bureau in Boston, with the Federal Narcotics agent and CIA consultant Dr. Sidney Gottlieb was a chemist who was chief of the chemical division of the technical services staff of the CIA. Under the Cold War and fears of the Soviet Union and China, Gottlieb felt inspired to investigate methods of mind control. Gottlieb based his plan for Project MKUltra and Operation Midnight Climax off of interrogation method research under Project Artichoke. Unlike Project Artichoke, Operation Midnight Climax gave Gottlieb permission to test drugs on unknowing citizens, which made way for the legacy of this operation. Hundreds of federal agents, field operatives, and scientists worked on these programs before they were shut down in the 1960s. I've heard about that before, like the whole mind control stuff and like the use of drugs in that. Not cool, guys, not cool. I mean, there's some like very informative documentaries that I highly recommend you guys check out if you're interested in stuff like that. But I can tell you, like, it's definitely on the darker side of things. Number 5, Project 1794. In late 2012, the US Air Force declassified a trove of documents, including records of a secret program to build a flying saucer-type aircraft designed to shoot down Soviet bombers. The ambitious project, called Project 1794, was initiated in the 1950s, and a team of engineers was tasked with building a disc-shaped vehicle capable of traveling at supersonic speeds at high altitudes. The declassified documents revealed plans for the plane to reach a top speed of Mach 4 and reach an altitude of 100,000 feet. The project's estimated cost was more than $3 million, which in today's dollars would be more than $26 million. Project 1794 was cancelled in December 1961 after tests suggested the flying saucer design was aerodynamically unstable and would likely be uncontrollable at high speeds. Honestly, the craziest thing about that is that they thought that this would cost $3 million, which I guess is $26 million, but building a flying saucer that's supposed to go that fast and that high and shoot down other things, like, that seems like it's gonna cost more than $26 million, guys. We gotta literally design the whole thing and then build it and test it. I mean, that sounds like a, several hundred millions of dollar sort of project, maybe even billions. Maybe I'm exaggerating, I'm not sure, but that's what I think. Number 6, Project Iceworm. In the 1960s, the US Army embarked on a secret mission to build a series of mobile nuclear missile launch sites under the Greenland ice sheet. The objective was to house medium-range missiles close enough to strike targets within the Soviet Union. The program was codenamed Project Iceworm, but to test its feasibility, the Army launched a cover research project called Camp Century in 1960. Man, all this crazy stuff's happening in the 60s and 70s, man. Everyone lost their mind back then in the Cold War times. Under this guise, engineers built a network of underground buildings and tunnels, including living quarters, a kitchen, a recreation hall, infirmary, laboratories, supply rooms, a communication center, and a nuclear power plant. The base, which was kept secret from the Danish government, operated for 7 years. The program was cancelled in 1966 after shifting ice created unstable conditions. Today, the crushed remains of Project Iceworm are buried beneath Arctic snow. Damn, how'd you keep that like under wraps from the government, man? That's actually shocking. You built that whole thing, nobody knew about it? That's insane. You brought missiles over there, I had no idea? That seems crazy to me, man. Like, feels like somebody would have caught on if we were building this whole thing, underground tunnels and laboratories and missiles and everything. But yeah, like I was saying, 60s were very clearly an insane time for the CIA, guys. Number 7, Operation Paperclip. I've heard of this one. In September 1946, President Harry Truman authorized a program called Operation Paperclip, which aimed to lure scientists from Nazi Germany to the United States following World War II. Officials at the Office of Strategic Services recruited German scientists to America to aid the country's post-war efforts, which would also ensure that valuable scientific knowledge would not end up in the hands of the Soviet Union or the divided East and West Germany. Operation Paperclip's most famous recruit was rocket scientist Werner von Braun, who would go on to mastermind NASA's Apollo moon missions. Yeah, I mean, that's very, I don't even really know my thoughts on that, to be honest. Like, comment down below what you guys think about that whole situation. Like, it's just shady. It's just so shady. It's so sketchy, man. And they kept that under wraps for forever. The fact that we even know about it now is kind of shocking, but just so shady. Number 8, Operation Gladio. During the Cold War, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, developed a classified plan for keeping Europe safe in the event of a Soviet invasion. The plan, known as Operation Gladio, called for the formation of secret armies or stay-behind organizations in many NATO countries, including Italy, Belgium, and France. The mission of the secret armies was simple: prepare for a potential communist takeover and lead an armed resistance should a takeover occur. And these clandestine armies weren't just kept secret from the Soviet Union. High-ranking government officials in countries where the military forces operated were sometimes not aware of the army's existence. Man, I want to know, like, how are you keeping this thing secret? How are you keeping it under wraps? How are high-ranking officials in those governments not aware that, like, there are literal armies, like, somewhere in their country? Like, you'd think that you'd notice if 10,000 guys just like showed up one day and built a base and they're now here, you know, they're ready to go. I'm not sure. Number 9, Area 51. A classic birthplace of conspiracies about fallen alien ships and little green men, Area 51 is shrouded in mystery. According to ex-government sources, this mysterious area of Nevada is mostly a test site for experimental military technology like the super-fast SR-71 Blackbird airplane and not a secret extraterrestrial testing facility. The intense secrecy surrounding the base has made it the frequent subject of conspiracy theories and a central component of unidentified flying object folklore. The base has never been declared a secret base, but all research and occurrences in Area 51 are top secret information. The CIA publicly acknowledged the existence of the base for the first time on June 25, 2013, following a Freedom of Information Act request filed in 2005, and at the same time, they declassified documents detailing the history and purpose of Area 51. I think it's cool that it's like a military testing site and stuff. But as a kid, man, like, I always thought it would be really awesome if there was aliens there and like we had stuff and there was UFOs, and who knows, maybe there still is. I'm not sure, right? Like, nobody really knows unless you're at Area 51, but I don't know. Part of the like fantasy and like space lover in me wants there to be cool, controversial stuff going on there. Number 10, nuclear testing at Bikini Atoll. Nuclear testing at Bikini Atoll consisted of the detonation of 23 nuclear weapons by the United States between 1946 and 1958 on Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands. Tests occurred at 7 test sites on the reef itself, on the sea, in the air, and underwater. The test weapons produced a combined fission yield of 42.2 MT of TNT in explosive power. I'm not really sure what that equates to, but sounds like a lot. The United States and its allies were engaged in a Cold War nuclear arms race with the Soviet Union to build more advanced bombs from 1947 until 1991. The first series of tests over Bikini Atoll in July 1946 was codenamed Operation Crossroads. Able was dropped from an aircraft and detonated 520 feet above the target fleet. The second, Baker, was suspended under a barge. It produced a large Wilson cloud and contaminated all of the target ships. Chemist Glenn T. Seaborg, the longest-serving chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission, called the second test the world's first nuclear disaster. Wow. 23 nuclear weapons. That is a lot of nuclear weapons to go off in the planet, man. I hope that doing that, we learned our lesson, you know, and like obviously after like the 2 times that it was used at the end of World War II, like I really hope that we have learned our lesson and those things are a thing of the past and we can just all put them to bed and we don't need to do them, worry about them, advance them, any of that stuff anymore. Anyways folks, that's the video. I've been your host Nicholas Playlog. Hit that like, smash the subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Against American military and civilian Operation Mockingbird. It was initially established in 1954 by Sidney Gottlieb. I'm just gonna say, yeah, Gottlieb. And god damn it, with the federal narcotics agent and CIA consultant, Dr. Sidney Gottlieb was a chemist who was who was chief of the federal compartmented information. But all research and occurrences in Area 51 are top secret compartment